What if the world's first empire was built by a man who is an orphan floating down the river? More than 4,300 years ago, a man rose from humble beginnings to conquer mighty kingdoms. He united the cities of Mesopotamia and changed the course of human history forever. Sargon of Akkad, a ruler whose life is suspended between history and legendary. Join us as we uncover the story of the man who built one of the ancient world's first great empires, Sargon of Akkad, the orphan who founded an empire. More than 4,000 years ago, before the rise of Egypt's great pharaohs, the Persian Empire, the fertile lands between Tigris and Euphrates rivers were home to world's first cities. Mesopotamia was a land of thriving agriculture, temples, busiest marketplaces, and ambitious kings. But despite of its prosperity, Mesopotamia was divided into powerful cities like Uruk, Ur, Kish, Lagash, and Umma, constantly fought one another for land, trade, and supremacy. All the rulers dreamed to become strongest, but no one succeeded to unite all the kingdoms under one crown. Behind this turbulence emerged a man whose story would blur the line between history and legendary. His name was Sargon of Akkad. Historians know him as the founder of Akkadian Empire, which is one of the history's greatest empires. Breaking facts from myths, centuries after his lifetime, it was found that Sargon's mother was a female sage or high priestess who secretly gave birth to him. Unable to keep the child, she placed the infant into a basket and set him afloat on Euphrates River, hoping God would decide his fate. The tiny basket traveled downstream. It was discovered by a man called Aki, who drew water from river and tended gardens. He rescued the child and raised him as his own son, taught him skills of farming and hard work. It is certain that Sargon Din began his life as a powerful ruler. Unlike other kings born into royal families, he was raised from humble origins with extraordinary ability, determination, and ambition. As he grew older, Sargon entered the service of King Udzababa of Kish, one of the powerful rulers in Sumer. He became the king's cupbearer, protecting the king from poisoning, attended private meetings, became one of the ruler's most trusted advisors. Within the royal palace, he observed political diplomacy, military planning, and balancing power between competing cities. He didn't realize that he was preparing for a destiny far greater than anyone could have imagined. Ancient legends tells of a mysterious dream in which the goddess Inanna chose Sargon for greatness, and King Udzababa himself dreamt that he was not a servant but a dangerous rival. Fear began to consume him. The stage was now set for one of the most remarkable rises in ancient history. A man who is an orphan, serving in a court of fearful king, was about to change the destiny of Mesopotamia forever. The growing influence of Sargon soon alarmed King Udzababa of Kish. Ancient Mesopotamian legends describe how the king became convinced that Sargon was destined to take his throne. Although those stories were not verified, but history supports one thing. Sargon emerged as a powerful leader during the period of Lugal-Ze, king of Uruk. He is an ambitious leader. He conquered many Sumerian city-states and united much of Sumer under him. Sargon challenged this powerful king in a campaign which changed the history forever. He defeated Lugal-Ze in battle, captured and chained him before the temple of god Enlil as a symbol that new era had begun. With his victory, he gained control of the major Sumerian cities including Uruk, Ur, Kish and Umma for the first time, all the city states of Mesopotamia came under the rule of single king, which transformed the political landscape of ancient Near East. But Sargon's ambitions not confined only to Sumer. He launched military across Mesopotamia, conquering Elam to east, Mari along Euphrates, Elba in the west. He even influenced the modern day Syria and neighboring regions too. Rather than ruling a collection of independent cities, Sargon forged a centralized empire that stretched from Persian Gulf towards the Mediterranean, gathered diverse people, languages, and cultures under one authority. To symbolize this new beginning, he established a new royal capital called Akkad or Agade, although no one discovered its exact location. Ancient texts describe it as a political and administrative heart of the empire. From here, Sargon governed his territories, appointed loyal officials, and strengthened royal authority over distant land. His achievements earned him titles like King of Akkad, King of Four Corners of the World too. Sargon's victories include more than expanding borders. They introduced a new model of kingship. Instead of ruling single city state, he created an empire governed through appointing officially military strength and administration, which became the blueprint for many last empires like Assyria, Babylonia, and Persia. The rise of him marked not just triumph of a man, but birth of an imperial ruler in Near East. Conquering was only beginning. Holding together would prove to be even greater challenge. After building his own empire from conquest, governing such a huge and vast empire becomes difficult. Sargon appointed trusted governors and military to look after conquered regions, ensuring even distant cities remains loyal to the throne in Akkad. Like other conquerors, he didn't destroy the local structures and traditions. He allowed people to continue their customs and religions. This combination of military strength and efficient administration helped to hold such huge empire. To support his empire's growth, he invested in trade, agriculture, and infrastructure. Mesopotamia was rich in fertile land, lacked precious goods and timber. Merchants brought cedar wood from Lebanon, precious stones from east, and valuable metals too. Rivers, canals, and land routes connected cities across the empire. These networks strengthened economy and transformed Akkad into a center of commerce. Under his rule, the Akkadian language spread throughout the government and cities becoming the dominant language in Mesopotamia. Meanwhile, Sumerian culture continues to flourish and blended with Akkadian, creating rich cultural civilization. One of the most remarkable figures of this period was Sargon's daughter, Enheduanna, whom he appointed as the high priestess of moon god temple in city Ur. She composed hymns and religious poetry that survived for thousands of years, making her earliest author. He honored many Mesopotamian gods but showed immense respect and devotion towards goddess Inanna. Associating his sovereignty with her divine protection helped reinforce his legitimacy in the eyes of his subjects. As the empire expands, religious traditions, artistic styles, and administrative practices spread across its territories, leaves behind a lasting cultural legacy that would influence later civilizations for centuries. It was an extraordinary achievement, bringing neighboring lands, connecting diverse people under a single government which changed the course of history. Yet tensions began to grow with achievements too. No matter how powerful the empire is, no empire is free from challenges. As Sargon's reign grew larger, governance became a big task. Many conquered cities accepted his rule only after military defeat, and beneath the surface, resentment continued to grow. Ancient records describe that the revolts broke out across the empire. Many lands united against him and marched towards Akkad. Maintaining the world's first empire was far more difficult than creating it. On account of this, Sargon once again led military campaigns to suppress the rebellions rather than retreating behind the walls of his capital. His experience as a commander and his disciplined army allowed him to preserve the unity of this empire. These victories states that he was not only a brilliant conqueror but also a determined ruler capable of defending the vast empire he built. Even in his final years, he remained as central force holding empire together. Around 2279 BCE, after a reign of more than 5 decades, Sargon died of natural causes, unlike other emperors defeated in battles or any assassination. His death marked the end of an extraordinary life that had transformed Mesopotamia forever. But the empire didn't disappear. His son Rimosh inherited the throne and faced the rebellions immediately. After him, Sargon's another son Manistushu ruled the empire, followed by grandson Naram Sin, who expanded Akkadian Empire even farther and became one of the greatest empires of the Near East. The Akkadian Empire eventually collapsed following internal struggles and inventions by the Gutians. His achievements endured. He stated that many different people, languages, cultures, and cities could be united under a single governance. His methods of centralized administration, military organization, and imperial rule became models for later civilizations. Like Assyrians, Babylonians, and Persians, by the time of his death, Sargon was not only a ruler, he was a legend whose influence echoed across the world for thousands of years. More than 4,300 years after his death, the name Sargon of Akkad still echoed. Later civilizations like Assyrians, Babylonians, and Persians adopted many of the principles that Sargon pioneered: centralized administration, provincial governors, permanent military, and long distance trade networks. For nearly 2000 years, Mesopotamian rulers looked back Sargon as the ideal king, and some even adopted his name to associate themselves with his legendary greatness. Under his rule, the Akkadian language spread across Mesopotamia and became the language of governance, diplomacy, and even literature for many centuries. The blending of Sumerian and Akkadian traditions created a cultural foundation that shaped the ancient Near East civilization long after Akkadian Empire disappeared. Even today, archaeologists continue to study the inscriptions, monuments, and clay tablets from his reign. Yet, one of the greatest mysteries surrounded Sargon remains unsolved. The magnificent capital city of Akkad has never been founded. Although many ancient scripts described its importance, its exact location has remained hidden despite of decades of research. Somewhere beneath the present-day Iraq, it was buried and waiting to reveal new secrets about one of the most remarkable ruler. Sargon's own life is also surrounded by mystery. When he was an abandoned child, or was that story created centuries later to transform a powerful king into a legendary hero? Historians may never know. One thing is true. Rising from humble origin, Sargon became one of the greatest ruler. He changed the course of history and inspired many rulers. His empire gradually faded. Capital vanished. Many of its monuments were lost to time. But his ideas continued to influence civilizations for centuries. As archaeologists uncovered evidences from Mesopotamia, Sargon's story evolved reminds us that even after thousands of years, history still holds unanswered questions. And perhaps somewhere beneath the sands of Mesopotamia, the lost city Akkad is still waiting to tell the lost final chapter of the king who became the founder of one of the humanity's first great empires. But one fact remains unchangeable. Sargon of Akkad changed the course of civilization, and his influence can still be traced more than 4 million years later. If you enjoyed this journey into the ancient world, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helped me bring more fascinating stories from history of life. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next documentary.